This is Season 10, and this season we're focusing on the people who make data work, the data professionals shaping how businesses run. From data engineers and scientists to stewards, analysts, and architects, these roles don't work in silos. They collaborate, balancing trust, governance, scale, and speed to turn raw data into real impact. Because data professionals aren't just supporting the business, they're driving it forward. This season, we'll explore how ideas become impact, the decisions, the day-to-day realities, and the challenges of building data-driven organizations. This is Let's Talk Data. Let's talk about the work that makes data matter.
Hello, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Let's Talk Data podcast. My name is Jose Chicas, and I'm a product marketing manager for SAP Business Data Cloud. And today I'm joined by Leona Hasani, a product manager for Business Data Cloud. And together we're going to dig into a topic that I think a lot of data professionals are going to find really valuable. We want to talk about how data scientists can get the most out of their SAP Business Data Cloud solution. But before we jump in, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I've been working in the data space for the last 5 years, and previously I was a solutions manager for SAP DataSphere, and I worked in partner and product marketing for SAP Business Technology Platform before pivoting to SAP Business Data Cloud. I have experience working with solutions such as SAP Analytics Cloud, SAP Data Warehouse Cloud, DataSphere, and now, of course, all the new trends and innovations that SAP has produced within the Business Data Cloud space and the data warehousing space. Currently, I'm a technical product marketing manager for SAP Business Data Cloud, where I get to stay on the cutting edge of trends and innovations shaping the data world, which honestly is a pretty exciting place to be right now. Now, let me tell you why I'm especially excited about today's conversation, and that is my guest, Leona. You see, she's not just a product expert with Business Data Cloud. She was previously a data scientist, which means that she spent several years in the data scientist role before making the pivot to SAP, where she's now a product manager for SAP Business Data Cloud. She's been a product manager for about a year and a half now, and what makes her perspective so unique is that she can speak firsthand to the realities of the data scientist role, the expectations, the day-to-day challenges, and yes, the pain points. So when we talk about Business Data Cloud and how it can help data scientists do their best work, Leona brings both the builder's mindset and the user's empathy to the table. So without further ado, Leona, thank you for joining me. I'm very excited to be talking to you today about this topic.
Thank you very much, Jose. I'm Leona Hasani, and I'm a product manager for Business Data Cloud and have been a data scientist. Your question is really good. So what are the challenges that a data scientist such as myself face? I think that the most critical one that even I, and when I were maybe even just in a personal project or in a team's project, I think that everyone thinks that the data access sometimes is cumbersome. It takes too many manual steps. It's fragmented, and requiring for data access specifically in a company, it may create a lot of obstacles. So you need to request access. Maybe the data access is not granted immediately, and you need to wait for that access. Then I think another challenge that I see is that the business context might get lost in the transaction. So having just a table or maybe a row table, you do not know what each of the attributes is, so you do not get the business context out of it, and you're not aware of the hierarchies within that data set. So that is a real pain point for many of the data scientists. And I think that sometimes you even have the data, but you do not trust it. So that is also a really critical point for data scientists.
I think it's interesting that you bring up the business context, because in my experiences nowadays, data sources, they come from so many different places. You have SAP and non-SAP data working together. You have on-premise data, you have hybrid data, you have fully, cloud data. And nowadays, because of how far technology has come, I think it's so interesting, Leona, that you mentioned that, because I think that as you're trying to pull data from all these different places and trying to make sense of it, because you pull all this data, you kind of tend to forget where it really came from, or maybe why it's relevant. And it's like you said,
Yeah.
it kind of loses its business context. And I find it really interesting that that is still an ongoing problem with a lot of data scientists in today's day and age. So going back towards being a data scientist, I mean, again, I've never done it, so I'm really trying to learn more about it. What is, I guess, what would you say is the day to day? What are the key benefits that having a data scientist on your team would bring?
I think the end-to-end workflow for a data scientist, first, personally, it starts with understanding the business. And I think it starts not only with the data, but first with the problem. So as a data scientist, you're just not there writing code, but first you need to understand what is the problem. And for that, maybe you will need to meet different stakeholders, define what would be the goal, what is the success, what are the KPIs, and then you will translate that business problem into a data problem. So I think that is the first initial point where data scientists start. Then after that, we need to think on how could we collect that data. Let it be enterprise data. Should we get it from source systems or at different LOB businesses, or you need to scrape it, or different databases, or let it be SAP data or non-SAP data. You have to think the whole picture of getting the problem done. Then after that, after getting the data access, which could be a very cumbersome process, as I said, it takes many steps. The data does not reside in one place. You need it from very different places. You need to start the data cleaning and preparation. And I think that takes the majority of the time. It may take up to 60 or 70% of the job. Then you need to think, okay, but now there are a lot of missing values, or I do not have the full business context. What missing values do I need? Do I need to remove them? Do I need to inject other values for that to insert? Do I need to remove the duplicates? What are the inconsistencies? You need to find ways to merge the data sets, to do the joins and transform variables, etc. And for that, maybe you just do not require only one programming languages. You need to be able to maybe know even Python, SQL, or if you want more advanced statistical models. Then we will,
Wow.
it's a lot, and it's
It's a
not only
lot.
one. It's not only one programming language that you need to know, and you need to be also up to date with those languages, because then they have new libraries that are updated each day, and then new technology comes by, now AI, which is helping us a lot, I think. Personally, when I first did my master's degree, I did not have any programming language. I did have some maybe web programming or Java, but I didn't know Python or R. But with the help of AI tools, I was very happy to do it in a much more efficient way.
That's really
And
cool, actually. I didn't realize
yeah,
you could leverage AI tools to assist you in that. It's kind of like adopting new technologies to help you do your job.
yeah. But also, even if you write to, let's say, ChatGPT or any of the LLM models, they do not know the business context of your data. So for that, we need to have it merged into our business context. And after doing all the data cleaning and preparation, I think the next phase is the exploratory data analysis, or as we call it, the EDA phase. There you need to find, okay, what are the correlations, what are the trends between each of the variables, to identify if there are any patterns occurring in the data that you have, any anomalies, and create visualizations for those. Then we have, I think, feature engineering is really important in order to create machine learning models. So we create time-based features, we create aggregation, and also encode categorical variables if we need to do so. And the last two phases are model building, where we see it if it is classification or regression or even a clustering problem that needs to be defined. Then it comes the module evaluation, where we split the data into training and testing, and also the validation set, where we validate based on the metrics, based on each of the types of the algorithms, let it be classification, regression, and then we deploy the model into the application or the dashboards.
Wow, so that's what, 6 different steps essentially, and that you got to go through. And I'm curious, you did mention, like, for example, pattern recognition and trying to see like if there are similarities. Are you doing that manually, or were you doing that manually, I should say, before leveraging BDC?
Yeah, you needed to write code for that. So you needed to do a lot of maybe manual steps before you came to the conclusion that there are patterns in that data.
Wow, that's really interesting, and it does seem like it'd be a lot of work. I guess
Yeah.
that's why you got to be the data expert to really manage all the different step-by-step processes for that. You've spoken about what it's like to be a data scientist with all these step-by-step processes that you have to take. I'm really curious. So let's throw Business Data Cloud into the equation. Now that you have BDC, what kind of steps is it helping you with, or removing, or facilitating as a data scientist?
I think the SAP Business Data Cloud is truly a game changer for data scientist persona, especially with the integration with SAP Databricks, which is now a jointly offering within BDC. What I see from a data scientist point of view, I would say that it helps us in bringing the data access more up to speed and getting ready to use data assets. So previously we had raw data access, which getting the raw data access maybe was slow and fragmented. But now with Business Data Cloud, I think that users can really benefit from it, from getting pre-built data products, which is, from my point of view, is really, really awesome. Then I forgot to mention that also in my when doing data science projects, you do not all the time get the business context, and sometimes it might, even if you get, it might get lost in the extraction of the data, and the data is And I think now with SAP Business Data Cloud, data products really help us on that. We have they embed SAP semantics. We have definitions, KPI definitions. We have the hierarchies embedded into them. And it's also another fact that we now can trust the data, actually. So we have, let's say, certified or approved data sets, which the data quality checks can already be baked in, and we have a clear ownership of that data product. And that data product might become as the single source of truth for a data scientist persona.
Nice. And then, I understand that it supports kind of across the board with the different tools, or sorry, the different step-by-steps that you have to take. I'm just curious though, from your experience, having been a data scientist and now a business data cloud expert, what do you think the learning curve would be like? You're so used as a data scientist doing steps 1, 2, 3 on your own. You're already used to the coding. You're already used to managing this data on your own. When you adopt BDC, do you see like as a significant learning curve? How have you found in your experience when people try to adopt and implement BDC into their day-to-day lives? What's the how quickly do they become comfortable using that solution?
Thank you. That is a really good question. And I think the honest take on this is, I think it can be lower than you'd accept it to be. I think if you already know Databricks, or even without knowing Databricks, if you have foundational knowledge on programming, on Python or SQL, I think you can be very good at Business Data Cloud, or or specifically in SAP Databricks. So if your team, let's say, lives in Python or SQL and has used Databricks before, I think that you are mostly learning how SAP data is structured and not new tooling. I think that may take weeks and not months. So that is my take on that.
I definitely see the value in that. If going from months to weeks, just shortening that turnaround time. But I also did hear you mention SAP Databricks a lot, and SAP Databricks is a new partnership leveraging Databricks technology built into Business Data Cloud. So it's when you get Business Data Cloud, you get more of a complete solution by getting some of that Databricks technology and having them work together. I know I was told by your team that you are the Databricks expert, the SAP Databricks expert in your team. So I do want to ask you a little bit about that since I have you here. I guess just to summarize, what is exactly SAP Databricks and how does it tie into BDC?
Thank you for that. SAP Databricks, it's a jointly developed and I think co-engineered offering, which results, as you mentioned, from the strategic partnership between Business Data Cloud and Databricks. And it's not a connector, but it is a native integration where Databricks capabilities are embedded into the SAP Business Data Cloud platform. And I think that this integration really, really matters from several reasons. First of all, it bridges the gap between SAP and non-SAP. As we mentioned, I think we talked about it. So SAP data was maybe difficult to work with outside SAP tools. And extracting it, it required complex connectors, and the business context was not there. So SAP Databricks lets data scientists and data engineers work with SAP Databricks with the business semantics being preserved. On top of that, they can utilize AI and ML on their enterprise business data. So as we all know, Databricks is the dominant platform for large-scale ML and also the AI workloads. So by using it and integrating with SAP's integrational and master data, you can now build predictive models, let it be demand forecasting or churn or even optimizations directly on top of trusted and governed SAP data. And I think that in a nutshell, the core shift, it's that previously getting clean, meaningful SAP data into a model, it was the hard part. But now SAP Databricks makes that part easier. And now let data scientists actually focus on the actual modeling rather than cleaning all the data.
Yeah, I do think that this partnership is something very exciting because for a long time, SAP and Databricks have been trying to sort out this collaboration. I'm very excited that it's here now. I was actually part of the team that was trying to push for that collaboration to take place. So very excited to see both those technologies come together. And I really think that, as you mentioned, it's going to be it's natively built, so it really integrates both technologies well within each other. So I think that's super exciting.
Yeah, and sorry to interrupt you, but I think also an important point that I forgot to mention is that it's bi-directional and in a zero-copy data sharing fashion between both of the SAP Databricks and Business Data Cloud. So SAP and non-SAP data can be joined and shared across business units without physically moving it or duplicating it. So it also lowers the cost of it.
And I think that's really cool. So I want to spend a little bit of time on that because I want to make sure I get this right and that our listeners also understand this. So zero copy data sharing, could you explain that in a little bit more detail? And then also maybe highlight why it's so important that it's zero copy data sharing?
Yeah, that is a really good point. So zero copy sharing is a architecture approach. I think it was uh, first introduced by Databricks itself. So that when data is being shared between systems, teams, or organization without physically copying it. So instead of duplicating data sets, the user can access the same underlying data directly and in real time.
Right. And then the benefit of that would be that like it would be a real-time insight so that it changes like if a data source changes in one place, it'll reflect it on your system, within a couple of
Yes.
minutes essentially.
So the users query the data directly where it lives, and it's in a live fashion.
Super cool. I think that's a huge benefit. I'm very excited we have that in Business Data Cloud. I'm going to get a little bit more technical here, and I want to ask you about describing a typical workflow for a data scientist building a predictive model using SAP data within this environment, from raw data to a deployed insight.
Yeah. The first thing that you need to do is go to SAP Databricks, where you get the access to the governed SAP data products in Unity catalog. So no extraction requests, and there is no waiting for a data dump. Then, after getting the data product in Unity catalog, you can start immediately doing the exploratory analysis on top of it. And for that, you can use Databricks, SAP Databricks Notebook in Python or SQL to profile the data. And as I mentioned previously, the business context is already there, so you're aware of it. And the hierarchies and everything is in there. So you prepare the data, you apply or maybe even reuse any existing data product transformation. Then you train your model with using many, based on your data, using algorithms, let it be classification or regression. And you track then your every experiment automatically with ML flow. Then comes the next phase, which is the validation, where you compare the runs in ML flow, pick the best model, and then register. After validation, we have the deploy phase, where we serve the model back to SAP Databricks model serving, or push the prediction back to SAP. And then we monitor the model for any drifts or any data quality over time without leaving the platform.
Thank you for that. I think that gives a bit of perspective into, kind of the technicalities of the solution itself. Speaking of the solution itself, I do want to talk about, maybe can you give me, I know I like to use this word a lot, but I want to talk about game changers. So, as a data scientist, leveraging BDC, leveraging this SAP Databricks tool that we're focusing on, what specific features do you think are game changers for the data science community? Maybe, can you think of something that's maybe not widely known yet?
Yeah, I think the ML flow being native to the SAP context is really a game changer. So every experiment tracking is tied to the same governance layer as your data. And then you can trace a model prediction back to the exact version of the SAP data it was trained on, which is really critical for any audit trails in many regulated industries. I've mentioned it previously. I think the semantic layer is really a game changer. So when pulling a data set from, let's say, SAP DataSphere into Databricks Notebook, business definitions come with it. So you're not only getting a table, but you're getting the business logic that maybe your CFO has actually signed off on. So most data scientists may not realize it, and until they spend weeks rebuilding it manually elsewhere.
That's fantastic. I would definitely call that a game changer. That's fantastic. And I definitely would call that a game changer. I think, on that topic, could you maybe share another real world example of a use case where data scientist could leverage this integration. I'm curious if you can think of like a specific example, maybe a project you supported or something you saw on your own end where you saw someone using SAP Databricks to solve a business problem or to deliver significant business value.
A real case scenario would be that a global manufacturer maybe wants to predict which purchase orders, which POs are at risk of delay before they actually get delayed. And with that, we want to give the procurement team time to act. I think let me start with the old way, how we did it before. I think in the old-fashioned way, a data scientist may request for SAP, may submit a request for SAP data. Weeks later, maybe they get exported, they get a CSV export, discover maybe that it's missing some vendor master data, go back, then wait again. By the time the model is built, maybe the data is stale, so the model can maybe never make it to the production because nobody agreed on which system maybe should consume the output. But now with a new way with SAP Databricks on BDC, from day one, you can directly connect to the data products which are governed, covering maybe purchase orders, vendor performance history, and any other logistics data, which can be all in one place. Then all your training data is ready. You're left on is you need to build the machine learning algorithm on top of it. Let's say you choose XGBoost to do the model on. You experiment on it, you track it in MLflow, and you register then your best model. So now, after that, your predictions can be directly written back into BDC or even S4, flagging risk purchase orders for procurement bias in their existing SAP interface. So now that bidirectional zero-copy fashion comes into real life.
Back into the zero copy. No, I definitely see that as a business value, and I think that's super cool. Leona, I really want to thank you for your time. I know we covered a lot of content. We talked about the general role of the data scientist. We then went into Business Data Cloud and how it helps out. Then we went to SAP Databricks specifically, really focused on that new partnership. And then we covered different features. We even gave some real life examples of SAP Databricks. So we did cover a lot. I wanted to ask you if maybe there's something looking ahead. Is there anything on the roadmap for Business Data Cloud that you think would be interesting to a data scientist? Maybe something that's up and coming, maybe something that just launched this year, or anything kind of, looking forward that we could talk about in this podcast. Just a little snippet we can draw up here.
As my colleagues always say, it's a really fantastic time to be at SAP and specifically in Business Data Cloud. We're genuinely excited on what's on the horizon for SAP Business Data Cloud and specifically with the with the Databricks integration. And I think that everyone is working really hard to make sure that the data scientists and all the business users get a really great experience and truly meet where they are. What I can say is that we are user persona centric and we want to offer the most seamless experience to data scientists. And I think for the most up-to-date and official view on what's coming, would encourage you to look at our SAP Roadmap Explorer, where there you can see our planned features, timeline, and what's currently in development across all BDC components. But one thing is that we want to make the experience in SAP Databricks for data scientists as seamless as possible.
That's fantastic. Well, Leona, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your firsthand perspective. I think our listeners are walking away with some really actionable insights today. Now, before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a couple of things. First, if you're curious about what's coming next for SAP Business Data Cloud, we've got you covered. Click the link in the description of this episode to check out the Business Data Cloud roadmap so you can see what's on the horizon, what new innovations are coming, what has just been released, and all future things Business Data Cloud. Furthermore, we have just launched a brand new special interest group on the SAP community built specifically for data professionals like you. Whether you're a data scientist, a data engineer, a business analyst, or anything in between, this is your space. Bring your ideas, share your insights, and ask your toughest questions, as well as connect with other like-minded data pros who are navigating the same challenges that you are. We want to hear from you, and honestly, communities like this only get better when people like you show up and contribute. Share ideas, share content, connect with other users. You'll find the link to join the group in the description. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the Let's Talk Data podcast. And until next time, let's keep exploring, keep experimenting, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with your data. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Let's Talk Data. If this episode sparked something for you, we want to hear about it. The questions you're asking, the challenges you're navigating, and the work you want to go deeper on. You'll find additional context and resources in the show notes if you want to go deeper. Subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and stay tuned as we continue exploring how data professionals turn ideas into impact. Thank you for being part of the conversation.